There may come a time in your life when you need to talk to someone about the direction in which you are going, professionally and sometimes personally. Is this the right school, the right job? Am I making the right decisions? You don't always have to figure it out on your own. Today, we're talking about the importance of mentorship and how it can help you navigate this thing called life. This is Speak Out DC.
Misty Copeland is the first African-American woman to be promoted to principal dancer in America Ballet Theater's 75-year history. She is the co-author of The Wind at My Back, Resilience, Grace, and Other Gifts from my mentor, Raven Wilkinson.
I wouldn't be where I am now without understanding the value and impact of having mentors in my life. And then, becoming a professional ballerina, I needed them. Being the only Black woman in my company and in most rooms in my field, to have other Black women that I could lean on who had been the first in their fields, whether or not it was within the arts or in ballet, just to have people to look to and to, have conversations with and process things has made me the person that I am today.
Welcome to Speak Out DC. I'm your host, DC Youth Mayor Addison Rose. Today, we're talking about the power of mentorship. My guests today are Stephanie Anya, a licensed clinical professional counselor who works in counseling and mentorship services. Ayanla Carter has been a mentee for 5 years and finds that her mentors have given her guidance, both professionally and personally. And Kadia Simpson, who has been a mentee for years and is now evolving into the role of mentor.
Yes, ma'am.
Welcome to all of you ladies.
Thank you, Addison.
The amazing Misty Copeland says that she would not be where she is if not for the impact and power of mentors in her life. When did you all find your mentor?
Well, I guess I'll start. Thank you so much, Addison. I think my mentors, in some respects, have kind of found me. I think that was just a product of me placing myself in the right place at the right time. I've been in the position to kind of serve and lean and be under somebody. I'm willing to learn. And when people, like other mentors, they see that kind of attribute in someone, they're more likely to gravitate to that person and go, hey, well, what are you interested in doing? And at the very least, they found out more about you. So even if they're not the right mentor, they can connect you to, the mentors that will be helpful in whatever it is that you're trying to do. So I think in some respects, mentors have found me.
Right.
Yeah.
I lost my mom when I was 10, so when I got my mentors, they were kind of there to help me personally, but as I got older and I started to realize what I wanted to do in life, they were also there to help aid in that, and they were also in the field that I wanted to go into, which is mass communications and journalism. So in a way that it kind of helped merge in the two, because they were there to kind of pick me up when I was kind of in a very vulnerable position, but then they also uplifted me and gave me the reassurance that everything's going to be okay. So, and also gave me that shoulder to cry on, or just to know that somebody's always there to help and support you in whatever.
It's in our communities, I feel like a lot of times we gain mentors that we don't necessarily place that label on. There are so many amazing women, people that I could look up to and I could say those are my mentors, but I haven't necessarily put that label on them.
Right.
They may be aunties, friends of my mother's, people I've met through school, whatever else, but I definitely look up to, and they've definitely been there in different aspects of my life to kind of guide me. What do you think, Stephanie?
That's completely what I was going to get to myself, is that I am someone who's just vocal. I like to talk to people. I like to, have conversations with people. And I feel like through having that kind of extroverted communication skill, that has kind of attracted people towards me, right? The more you talk to someone, the more you're able to see, what they value, what's important to them, their personality. And so for me, I was able to connect with teachers from, schools. I went to American University here in DC.
Very nice.
And when I graduated, I had this summer program that I did with one of my teachers who I had, during my semester, and we connected, and she was able to, give me an opportunity that I would not have been able to be placed in before, right? Even in my master's program, there was particular teachers who I was able to kind of connect with, and they were, wrote me recommendations, telling me what to be, what avenues to look out for. And then I was very, very fortunate to come in contact with my most recent mentor that I've had for the last 4 years at the job that I transitioned to out of Howard County. And she is just wonderful. The experiences that she has are just so enriching. And, she happens to be a woman of color, a Black woman at that. And so being able to be in my field, understand the nuances of, my role as a woman, as a Black woman, and how to navigate this space is just something that's really invaluable.
If I may piggyback off of something you mentioned earlier, I think we make mentorship sometimes too big. Like it's this big thing, I need to find a mentor.
The mentor.
Right? And sometimes it's just the people around you. Sometimes it's just the people that are in a similar space. They may have a little bit more experience, they may have a little bit more training, or they may just been at this particular job longer than you have. It doesn't have to be this big, let me search for a mentor. It's just more like, who can I learn from? Who can I kind of glean from? Who can I kind of just sit under? Who can I just watch?
Right.
We don't put those necessarily labels on those people, to your point. We sometimes we watch, and I know I have plenty of celebrity mentors. They don't know. They don't know.
And I know me.
They don't know me, but I know you. You are my mentor, okay?
I also feel like I grew up in a household full of women, and so seeing them and their drive and just seeing how they were able to do it themselves, that was inspiration. But also, I didn't give them the label of my mentor. I think about my grandmother and my mother. They aren't my mentor, but they are those parental figures that I look up to. But as I got older, I'm like, yeah, you are my mentor. I kind of look up to you because look at how far you've come, and you've raised these kids to be who they are. So it's also going back and forth with that. They're kind of under your nose. You don't even notice it.
Right.
Yeah. Kind of building off of the point of how we a lot of times are used to looking for one mentor, hearing that. How do you all think that this idea of mentorship has changed throughout the years?
Ooh, I can
Go.
So I'm still at the I like to say the transitional period between teenager and young woman. So I feel like I can answer this kind of perfectly. So in my teenage years, I was looking for someone more so to rely on academically, or to challenge me or mentally stimulate me in a way that would kind of open my perspective to different things. But now I'm looking for a mentor who is going to push me professionally and tell me how to professionally write an email, how to communicate with people on a business level. So it's kind of interesting because it's now I have the strengths of my personal growth, and now I'm incorporating the professionalism to that. And so it's building me up to become a mentor. So I feel like I'm taking both, and I'm kind of putting them together, and I'm becoming the young woman that I would want to be for another mentee or mentor.
I love what you said, because, and we all kind of said it in some form, I'm thinking about duplicating. People have kind of duplicate different aspects of themselves within us, and it trains us to do the same thing, to just duplicate different aspects. But I'm an only child, and so my mentors, I was looking for a big sister, I was looking for a big brother, somebody, because as an only child, I kind of had to learn it on my own. I mean, I would get it directly from my mother, but even in the aspect of things that she didn't know, or things that she wasn't exposed to, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
So just by proximity, I was able to really look up to some big sisters,
Yes.
just in my life. And now to your point about now professionally looking for somebody to kind of hone in on me, hold me accountable, you know, and I know that's weird to ask for as a mentor, like, I want somebody to hold me accountable, because accountability is what sharpens you, you know?
It kind of taps into your ego a little bit, because like being held accountable, it's not the easiest thing, but I feel like it's power in being vulnerable. So being held accountable or being called out, sometimes that's needed to kind of build you up in a way.
Absolutely.
So,
well, it's time for a break, but when we come back, we will have more in our conversation about mentors on Speak Out DC. Welcome back. Today we're talking about mentors and what having one can do for you personally and professionally. So, Stephanie, is there a difference when it comes to having a mentor in terms of age? Like, do you need to be a specific age in order to get one? Do you need to be a specific age in order to be one? What would you say?
That's a great question. So honestly, I think you can receive mentorship at any age, at any point, right? As we kind of alluded to earlier, that there are some informal mentors in our lives, right? Our parents, our, extended family, sometimes, a family friend can, play that role. So I think receiving mentorship doesn't have a limit in terms of when to start. Now, in terms of becoming one, I feel like, doesn't have a time limit or an age limit, if you will, because your experience starts as soon as you open your eyes as a human.
That's good. That's
right?
good.
So like me, say if I was 10, I can be a mentor to someone who's 5.
Yeah.
You know? If I'm 15, I can be a mentor to someone who's 9. Like, you can always provide support, direction, love, care, right, to another person.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good. Because, we always see mentorship as duplicating information. And while that is present, it's the care, it's the love. And I think I just want to just highlight that you said, because it's the care and love, and sometimes that's what people need. In a mentor, you can give me all this information, but if I don't feel loved by you, if I don't feel respected, if I don't feel seen, it's harder for me to either receive that from you, it's harder for me to give that to somebody else, as we talk about duplicating ourselves and being a mentor at any age. And so I love the fact that you said it's not just about information, about what we're doing. It's about, we're human beings. Right. We're not human doings. And so mentorship is about caring for the person. It's more than just a job. It's more than just, what's your mental state? Right. How are you feeling today? Yeah. So I love that you said it. Thank you for saying that.
Were you about to say something?
I was just going to say that just earlier today, I was getting introduced to someone else, and my friend was like, "This is my mentor, Yamla," and I was like, "What?" And she's like 2 years younger than me, so like you saying that, like it could be at any age, but like in my perspective or in my thoughts, I'm just like, you think you think I got it all the way together to be a mentor? So like it was kind of cool. So I just wanted to share that. That's
You really be surprised at how people see you.
Right.
And people, I work with youth, so like 13 to 17, and I've been working with them just in proximity, talking to them really casual, not like, oh, let me deposit into your life.
Right.
And next thing you know, like we went on a retreat recently, and they were coming up to me and they was like, "Miss Katia, we're so thank you so much." I was like, "For what?" Like I had no idea that all of this time, general conversation, hugging them, asking them if they're okay, do they need anything, were ways that they like looked up to me, and now they know if I need something.
But that's like the most important.
Absolutely.
That's the most important connection you kind of want to have, a genuine one, not one with a label, which is kind of why I feel like, we talked about this idea of like, how important as we've grown up, like having a mentor, that one mentor versus like having multiple mentors without the name is so important. And I feel like that's where that falls into play, because I think there's a bit higher expectations when you put kind of a label on it. Though I think it can be important. Sometimes you need that, because you need that constant pressure for you, constant like checking up on you. But there's also moments where it's just like you want it to be genuine. That's when it's most effective for you.
Yes.
And to your point, I think that there's times and spaces for that.
Yeah.
Right. So if I have a professional mentor, and it's one of those things like, the mentor is giving, I'm receiving. That's the nature of our relationship. Not every mentorship is going to be, oh, I love you. How are you doing today? It's not going to be
Or
that.
someone you look up to in life.
Correct.
Yeah.
It could be just straight like, look, pick it up because I'm dropping.
But
that.
I also want to be told, like, hey, you disappointed me here, but like, here's what you can do to build yourself
That
back up.
accountability
That
aspect.
accountability again.
That's good.
So I feel like I want that.
I think that brings back to the point about there are different styles of mentorship,
Yes.
right? And
that's
knowing
good.
what style of mentorship works best for you,
Yeah.
right? You're someone who benefits from having, feedback, right? And feedback that's directed toward my values and my goals.
That's good.
There are people who are not in a space where they can be held accountable in the same way that you would want to be.
Right.
And so being able to know what do I need, and then finding people who capture that or can do that for you is also important. On top of maybe even having multiple mentors, right? Recognizing that you said there's some people who are going to be able to give you that more warm, authoritative type of approach where we're collaborating together. And then there's other people who are more like, I'm just giving it to you and you pick it up. I'm not going to give you nothing more than that. And sometimes we need a sprinkle, a little bit of all of that.
Yeah.
And I think that helps us if we're going to be mentors, because the evolution is supposed to be at the next point you deposit into somebody else. You, as a good mentor, you recognize that.
Yes.
You recognize the kind of person that is kind of leaning towards you, or the kind of person that you're seeking after. You recognize who they are, what they're about, and then you can guide your mentorship accordingly.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you think you need to have a relationship already established to have a mentor? And like, how long should that period be? Like, how do you know when is it more of like you just feel it? Like, you know when you know, or do you think there's a timeline?
It should be like kind of natural. Like, I don't want to be looking for a mentor because I don't want it to be forced. I want it to be like, hey, we sat down, we talked, and then I really like your values and your core thoughts and how you move as a person. I would love for you to be my mentor if that's okay. Are you comfortable with that? Because I don't want to just go into it with an expectation, because I don't want that person to feel used or anything like that. So I would rather have like a natural experience, and I don't think it should be like a timeline. Like, sometimes you just know, and sometimes you may not want that person to be a mentor, and that's okay. It's still room for error, and there's still room to go looking for someone else. And like, it's people everywhere, so you shouldn't force it. I don't think you should force it.
Yeah. Or you look like you were going to say something.
She said it really well. Like, I don't think that it should be necessarily a time limit on it. When you know, it's like a love affair. When you know. So, and then I believe that if it's purposed and it's meant to be, then that person already would have seen you, or that person already kind of would have noticed you, and
they probably called you out.
They may call you out. So I love how that works, where this was meant to be because you felt the same way that I felt about it. So I think that's good.
And people are always watching. So sometimes like people be like, hey, I recognize you here. I love your work. Who is guiding you? Do you need a mentor? That's beautiful in itself.
Yes. Well, this has been great. Thank you all. A closer look at being a mentor when Speak Out DC returns. Welcome back. We're talking about mentorship. So I feel like we kind of have to address, when we have this idea of mentorship, we have to address why it's so important to have a mentor that looks like you. I think especially for young men, it's important that they have someone to look to that looks like them. But, especially in communities of color, we also need people to look towards. So Stephanie, do you kind of want to start us off?
Yes, definitely. So mentorship, I think that having someone who looks like you is one of the factors that goes into finding someone, right? Because shared experience is huge. And when you're thinking of race, gender, sex, religion, so on and so forth, those shared experiences allows me to feel comfortable.
Yes.
Allows me to feel like you see me, or you at least understand where I'm coming from, right? So if we think about men, right, not to say that women could not be a mentor toward a man, but there are certain parts of life, certain experiences that are unique to being a man, let alone being a black man, right? The same way that there's unique experiences to being a black woman.
And respect. The respect varies when you're, looking at or talking to someone that looks like you, has had similar experiences, and you feel more inclined to listen to them. Because when you're listening to someone that you don't really connect to, it's like, well, why should I listen to you? Or it kind of goes through when you're not the other. So I like that.
Yes, definitely agree with that. And also even just looking at, not only is it shared experience and shared direction, but it's also seeing someone who's in a field that is usually predominated by the majority. Think about how when Barack Obama was president, being able to see that it's even possible, he became a mentor to the nation, to many people, because it shows you that you can get there. If he can do it, maybe I can too. And that is powerful for any person, but especially our black men and women.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like representation is everything. So, and especially in like the medical field, we don't have a lot of black doctors or anything like that. So to see someone in the profession that you have been conditioned to think that is not meant for us, that's everything. Because like now, you're kind of like being brought up or uplifted to know that, hey, I did it, you can do it too, and I'm gonna give you the tools and the knowledge for you to be successful. I don't want you to be me, but I want you to be successful in your own realm. So I feel like it's all about representation, and I feel like we need to always continue the cycle of giving back to each other and giving back to others as well. But I feel like we should be the top priority.
And not feeling like you need to play catch up with your mentor or people you're surrounded by,
should be no
more so
competition.
uplifted.
Right.
Exactly. And I like what you said about kind of you want to go your own route, but not necessarily do exactly what I'm doing. And I think that's important for mentors to kind of keep in mind, guiding your mentee in a way that allows them to thrive in their own way, but kind of on your path at the same time. What do you think, Kadia?
So a couple things. That whole pull yourself up by your own bootstraps thing, I think that's something that officially in 2023 we can do away with because everybody has had somebody, a break or something. And so why, if I'm going to be a mentor, why would I want you to go through the exact same struggles that I went through? I remember how hard it was. I remember how tough it was. I remember how I cried myself to sleep every night. Maybe I want you to just do that half of the time. You're going to have your own journey, to your point. But my job as a mentor is to guide you, not to necessarily have you follow direct steps after. There are going to be some things I'm going to give as a mentor for instruction. Hey, this is what it is. Do this. But as far as your journey, it's something that's going to be unique to you. And in regards to our black men, I think just in society and culture, men are supposed to be the lead and the head. And I think mentorship for them is even more important, or just as important as mentorship for black women as it is for black men, because, the mantle that's just on them as men to lead, to guide, to initiate, to innovate, to kind of trailblaze, I think is super important that they have that. They have somebody that they can recognize, that they look up to. They have somebody to guide them. They
Show
have
them they're not alone in
Yes,
this kind of world of
exactly.
feeling like they need to lead.
Yes. And they don't have to do it by themselves, or they don't have to make it up. One of my mentors, who's actually funny because she doesn't look like me, but she said, plagiarism is not a thing anymore. You're an adult. She said, if you have something, Google it. She said, don't start from scratch anymore. For what? There are people that got paid way more for you to now Google them,
and
do it, and scrub it, insert what you need to insert. She was like, but I mean, granted, plagiarism is a thing, but
Don't plagiarize.
Don't plagiarize. But Google it. Like, stop trying to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to do that.
And help is important.
Help is important.
Yeah.
Can I just add one piece? Because one of the things that you guys both kind of highlighted is there's a difference between mentorship and apprenticeship.
Yes.
Right? And this thing of like, oh, do it exactly like me seems more like apprenticeship than it is with mentorship, right? It's not about you need to get to this specific goal and outcome, but it's more around moving toward a direction, right? Like in terms of shaping, building skills, building resilience to certain things, or at least just having someone who will be there to support you through the failures or the falls, which is another, I think, thing that you want to look at, when you're looking at a mentor, right? Is, have you failed? Because I think that's truly important in, our experience as humans, is how to fail and how to get ourselves up from it. Because I think we're just like success. But most people, it wasn't a linear, type of journey that they took when they were doing those things. So another thing to look at.
To your point, I love that you said that. I have had to reframe how I saw failure. I saw it as, it's horrible, I fell on the ground, it's a terrible thing. I've had to reframe how I view failure. Not saying that I'm aiming to fail, but that if I do, this is what I need to learn from it so I can pick back up. And to your point, it wasn't just a linear journey. It was like, oops, okay, wait a minute. Okay, there we go again, And so it gives a realistic and
huge. And that's what you have to appreciate about it.
Exactly. And it gives you a human experience. It doesn't look perfect.
It's not fake.
It's not fake. I failed, I messed up, and I had to do this all over again. Or I had to try a different avenue. So the honesty in that, let me teach you how to fail, because you're going to. It's inevitable. You're going to.
Yes, we have more to come in a moment. Speak Out DC, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Speak Out DC. So, Katia, why do you think that it is just so important that we create boundaries when it comes to having mentors and mentees and that relationship just in general?
I think it's important to have boundaries with people in general.
Amen.
Yes.
And
learning how to do that.
No, right. and it's very tough, because a lot of it requires you to kind of see where people are and to be self-aware enough to know where you are, so you can understand what those boundaries are, how to create them, how to set them, because I used to see boundaries as rejection, like, you don't want, that's because I didn't have any.
Like, know your place.
Right. And that's because I didn't have any of my own to identify what it was when it was being set with me. So just as mentors, because sometimes you don't really know the person, you don't have the gift of having that relationship with them. And so setting boundaries so that people can eventually come into kind of like your inner circle. But I think communication's a part of that, because it's like, this is where we're going to start. And then these are the steps that you get closer and closer. And I think communicating that helps with the feeling like, I'm keeping you at an arm's length. That's not what I'm doing. Because I don't know you, have to set a boundary. Because you don't know me, we have to set a boundaries until we grow that relationship, even if it's just a mentorship, even if it's just an apprenticeship. As we grow, those things are communicated, and then naturally people get closer. Those boundaries become, a little closer into who you are as a person. So, hope I answered your question.
I agree wholeheartedly, because I feel like now I'm still learning my mentors, but I still feel like we haven't had any experience where I felt like my boundaries weren't of value. But again, it's still a learning experience. So once we do have that clash, if it's a clash, I feel comfortable enough to communicate that, and I don't feel like, oh, they're gonna hate me, they're not gonna like me anymore, they're not gonna mentor me anymore. I wanna have that balance of knowing that I can mess up, you can mess up, but we're still gonna, fall back on each other, and we got each other. And I think that's important, and that shows that we have trust within each other and building each other up. Because they're building us up, but we're building them up as well.
Yes.
Definitely. It is a transactional relationship between the mentor and the mentee. And I think what's even more important to look at is, what is a boundary? What is a limit?
Right.
I think a lot of the times people don't even really understand. It's one of those buzzwords that people just like, oh yeah, set your boundaries. But
what does that look like?
What does that even mean? So I explain to my clients that boundaries and limits are the conditions and the things that we need to perform at our most optimal level. So in order for you to do that, you need to be able to have limits. You can't give 100% all the time.
That's not even to have limits and boundaries, you need to have communication.
There you
and
go.
be able to communicate.
Exactly.
So having a boundary, having a limit is not you being mean, is not you being rigid, is not you, not giving your best or, being lazy. It's you honoring exactly who
Which
you
you
are.
have the
That
right to do.
self-awareness.
You guys better fill it in.
The accountability.
Like, so
To
that's
know,
pretty
that's
much
so
why you
good.
want to know what my limits are, what my boundaries are, what stretching them, what bounds that looks like, and then observing them, what bounds and what that looks like.
When you said stretching them, because I like that, because I think we encounter people in our life, whether they're mentors or mentees, that push us outside of our comfort zone. To your point of using boundaries as a buzzword, oh, I'm setting my boundaries. No, you're setting a comfort zone. And sometimes your comfort zone becomes a prison for you, right? And so you need people, or you need mentors that are gonna say, come on out, it's fine over here, let me stretch you a little bit, but of course they'll be self-aware to know who you are, how far to push you, but sometimes it's okay for those to be, for your own boundaries to be stretched, especially if you're trying to get somewhere. You have a goal in mind, you have an achievement that you need to do.
But that's power because they see it in you. You don't even see it yet.
Yes.
They see it in you.
Yes.
And they know, they're like, oh yeah, I know you can do it.
Yeah.
But that's you in fear, like kind of scared to touch it or even stretch or step out the surface, out your comfort zone. So the fact that they see it in you, you just got to take a chance.
Amen.
You just got to take a chance.
Take that leap is very important, and mentorship allows you to have the safety net.
Oh, yes.
When you do take that leap, is that someone is there for me, someone will fish me out of that pool that I've fallen out
Not
of.
feeling alone.
Right. I don't feel like I'm alone in this, and if I do fall, I'm not going to be met with judgment. And the stretching yourself is important when you're stretching yourself toward your values and toward things that are important to you. You don't want to just stretch yourself just to stretch yourself, because that leads to burnout for both the mentor and the mentee.
Right.
Yeah, and it's important to kind of find that balance and like figure out, and I think it's all like trial and error. But the important thing to know is that you can't necessarily fail in it, and the hope is that your mentor is kind of there to pick you back up and help guide you. So when we kind of think of this idea of mentorship, why ultimately do we think it is so important?
So I don't have it all figured out, and I don't know everything, and I'm always going to value being a forever student. I don't want to be the person in the room that knows everything. I want to learn, I want to engage, I want to have that experience, and I want to also connect from those experiences. So I feel like having a mentor allows you that safe space and knowing that, hey, I don't know it all, but I have this person to rely on to give me some guidance. So yeah.
You took my answer. No, but I have planned, my goal is to be a lifelong learner.
Right.
And if I'm always learning and I'm always kind of putting myself in the position to receive from other people, to watch other people, to learn from other people, that's like the ultimate goal, is to always be in a position of learning.
Right.
Because even at the age that I am, I now have it all figured out. I don't know everything, and I also don't know what I don't know.
Right.
So you want to make sure that you're always, it's important to always be in a position to be mentored, and then as to not hold it, you give it out, and you also be in a position to pour it out into somebody else and be the mentor, and you have a mentee. So always, it's like it keeps the pipeline going.
Which is so necessary.
Absolutely, especially for Black women.
Exactly.
Yes. And I will say, for me, the reason why mentorship is so important is that as a singular person, we have blind spots. Like we are blind. We don't know what we don't know, but we also don't see what we don't see. So having multiple people provides you with an increased scope of different things, experiences, challenges, wins, losses, all of that. So I would definitely say that's why mentorship is important.
Super important.
Yes. Oh, well, thank you all for these amazing gems. Dang, I'll be taking this into consideration.
Good.
But I do want to thank my guests for discussing mentorship with me today, and thank you for tuning in, of course. I'm DC Youth Mayor Addison Rose, and remember, let your voice be heard. Speak out, DC.